Die Finsternis ist die größte Feindschaft des Lichts und ist doch die Ursache, dass das Licht offenbar werde.
Böhme ist der erste Denker, der etwas Neues in die europäische Philosophie einbrachte. Hervorragend bei Böhme ist sein Konzept Gottes als etwas unerhört Komplexes, etwas Unergründliches und endlich als etwas voller Widersprüche. In Deutschland, in der Zeit der Romantik, lesen alle Böhme. Zum Glück finden sich unter den exzellenten Entdeckern von Böhme auch die herausragendsten polnischen Dichter. Ich denke, dass einige von Słowackis Werken ohne Bezug auf Böhme nicht erklärt werden können. Es ist sicher, dass in der Wiege der russischen Theologie, also in den Akademien Moskaus und Kiews, in dieser Zeit auch die Schriften von Jakob Böhme gelesen wurden und dass diese auf die russische Kultur ausgestrahlt haben. Vom protestantischen Standpunkt aus ist er ein Heretiker. Der Heretiker ist nach der Etymologie des Wortes Häresis derjenige, der Anspruch auf die eigene Wahl seiner Religion erhebt. Er ist ein freier Mensch.
Ein herzliches Willkommen zum Kanal Inspirierendes aus Theologie und Philosophie. Heute geht es um den christlichen Mystiker und Philosophen Jakob Böhme. Und ich habe mir dazu einen ganz großartigen Experten einladen können. Es ist Łukasz Chwałko. Großartig, dass du heute mit mir dieses Interview machst. Und du hast einen fantastischen Film darüber gedreht. Er versteht wunderbar die deutsche Sprache, aber wir machen dieses Interview trotzdem heute in englischer Sprache. Experten sagen über den Film: The best thing made about Böhme. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me, Łukasz. Thank you very much.
Hello, Tillmann. It's very nice to have you here.
First of all, would you mind telling me a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I can tell you. I'm from here. I'm from Zgorzelec, Görlitz, where we are now in Zgorzelec, which is the Polish part of Görlitz. So it is the place where Jakob Böhme used to live. And I was fascinated in making films, making documentaries since I was maybe 15 or 16. I wanted always to make a film. It was very hard at that time. We didn't have. It wasn't so easy to make film for like independent filmmakers because we didn't have access to digital cameras as we have today. Today, everyone, even young people, can make films. And at that time, I lived in Brighton in England. Well, I spent there like 4 years maybe, and I went to the film school in Brighton Film School. It was very nice. It was a very small school, but very nice because we filmed on real film. And then I decided I have to make a film about my hometown, about my area, something connected to my area. So I said to myself, perhaps it would be very easy to make, much easier to make a film about place I am from. And when I came back from England, I lived in Zgorzelec. I studied cultural studies in Wrocław. I began my university. And I had something called, I had classes called History of Philosophy. And during these classes I got interested in the life of philosophers. It was very, very fascinating classes. I decided to make a film about philosopher. I decided it will be a very interesting subject. And I remind to myself that we had one philosopher in Zgorzelec, and at that time I didn't know anything about Böhme. I just I knew that someone like Böhme lived in Zgorzelec, and he was shoemaker. Perhaps this is the only one thing I knew. And I decided, yes, this is going to be my first film, and this film I will start and finish, and it will be a good film. This is what what I decided at that time. And yes, and I start making my first documentary, which is the film about Böhme.
Great. And why are you so fascinated by Jakob Böhme?
On the personal level, like he is fascinating. We have this word in Polish, courage. You have it in French language, courage. I think it comes from, or courage, and I think he must be very courage person. Like what he wrote at that time. He had many people against him, and he still wrote and believed what he wrote. Yes, that's why I think he is fascinating, and also what he wrote. That it's very wide. He influenced a very wide group of people. I mean, the perception of this work is very wide, not only on the physical level, that that it's known in USA, in Switzerland, in Germany, in Russia, in Japan, but also on the kind of spiritual level. That he influenced people from very different groups, like Catholics, Protestants, Orthodox, East Church, science people, like atheists, and yes.
Yeah. How did you get the idea to produce, to create a film?
I think I explained it a little bit earlier, but yes, that's why first I was interested in film, because people sometimes ask me why have you chosen Jakob Böhme as your subject, as the subject of your first film, and I haven't chosen it. I wanted to make any film, any documentary, and I just thought it's going to be a good subject. And then I started, while making the film, I started to read about Böhme. So at the beginning, at the moment I started to make the film, I didn't know anything about Böhme. I slowly started to read, and to meet those people they are in the film. For example, I went to my professor of history, philosophy, and I took a book by Gerhard Ver, which is a biography of Böhme, and I gave it to him, and I said, well, this is I'm going to make a film about Böhme, and this is the book I want to use, and perhaps please you know something else, please give me more information about Böhme. And he opened the book, looked at it, and closed, and gave it back to me and said, well, I see that it was translated by Jerzy Prokopiuk. He is in my film now, so it must be a very good book. So I went home, opened the book again, and I typed Jerzy Prokopiuk, the name of this man who translated the book by Gerhard Ver. I typed it to Wikipedia, and I wrote to him.
Can you tell me something about the process from this film?
Yes. So the idea was to make a film which is going to explain, more or less, Jakob Böhme, that the film that is going to introduce Jakob Böhme only for Polish audience. At that time, I didn't know the film is going to be translated. I just wanted to make a film for local people in Zgorzelec. That was my aim. That was what I wanted to do. And I wanted the film to be very clear, very easy, because the subject is important, the subject is difficult. Because the subject is difficult, I wanted the film to be very clear, very typical documentary. And I said I said to myself, first the ground, the basics, what I have to do is I have to find good people to make interviews with. So specialists, professors, and that's I said about Jerzy Prokopiuk, the man who translated Gustav Jung. So he was the first person I had contacted. And at that time I didn't know anyone. And since I contacted him, I met him and he gave me some contacts. And then another contact and another contact gave me another contact, and it worked like this. That's why I found. And also at that time I didn't have any camera operator, any equipment. I didn't have anything. So I had one friend in Wrocław where I studied, Wrocław, and he said to me, well, I know someone from film industry. I will contact him. That man said, yes, please come to our party. We do a party, for sure you are going to find someone. You're going to meet someone with camera operators, and they will just film your film. I said, okay. So I prepared myself, I bought a bottle of vodka, I'm going there to this party, because I've heard Polish film industry drinks a lot, so I prepared myself. And he told me that, well, you go, but I cannot go. I cannot come to this party, but you go, you will find a place. And it was like this. I went there, and I found someone, which is Joanna Sobieśniewska, my friend. She is a very skilled camera operator, and at that time she wanted to help me. She wanted to help me with filming the interviews and everything. And we went to those professors, filmed. I wrote at the same time. I wrote script. I wrote the whole script. I put it on my floor, and I marked it with green color. For example, green color is Böhme speaking. The yellow color is Professor Jerzy Prokopiuk speaking. The blue is someone else. And I just wanted to mix it so there is not too much. For example, in one place there is not too much of blue. There is no. So I wanted to put it like it's a good structure. And I think it's quite easy. So from the beginning to the end, it has to be this kind of films about difficult subjects. They have to be very clear, and and the structure have to be very easy. And I think I managed to do it.
Yes, step by step, and fantastic. It's really fantastic.
Yes, and then I added some music. I went to Vilnius, to Wilno, where I have my friend Jarosławas Bobrowas. He is a sound editor. We recorded some sound, we edited sound. Yes, and we added music, Polish Renaissance, Cyprian Bazylik. By the way, he was the first. He was Calvinist church.
Calvinist.
Yes, he was Calvinist, and he was the first one who translated the Bible into Polish.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I think so. This is I'm not sure, but yes, it's very possible it was him. Because at that time, Polish Renaissance music was very famous. You know? It was the most famous Polish composers before Frédéric Chopin. So.
What is the significance of Jakob Böhme for today?
This is interesting because he was like a 16th, 17th century philosopher, a writer, thinker, and people are still interested. And I receive many messages, many emails, or while I have public screenings, people come to me and they talk about Böhme and they say how they are influenced by Jakob Böhme. So it means they can find something in the works of Jakob Böhme. To me, he influenced me. For example, he is influential only, yes, also mainly because of his works, but only as I said, because of the way he worked, how courage person he was. But his works, yes, because they are famous not only in, for example, German-speaking world, but almost everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes. So he is kind of he's building the bridges between cultures, between culture like German-speaking world and Slavic world.
Yes, it did.
Because he influenced the German poets, German philosophers, and also Polish poets like Adam Mickiewicz, Juliusz Słowacki, and Russian philosophers, Solovyov.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why I think he is still very important, and people can, because his works are not translated to, like, for example, in Poland, I think only one book is translated, fully translated and published. So he is still someone to be discovered, and I think he will get more and more famous.
Yeah, by your film. Yes.
I hope so.
And my last question would be, are you planning more projects about Jakob Böhme?
Yes, I was thinking about the film, about the second part of this film, which is going to focus about the influences of Jakob Böhme in 19th century. Yes.
Oh yes. Fantastic. Łukasz, thank you very much for this interview and for your time, and I wish you all the best for your future projects.
Thank you.